All right. So now that you have learned loops, this is really where we can start to shine with additional features. The first thing that I want you guys to do um, is really, actually, I want you to do the number guessing game stuff first. So let me put that here. I want you to work at using loops to improve your code. Your goal is to not repeat yourself. Work at not repeating yourself in code. Okay? So in order to do that, we should, so when we were doing the number guessing game, we had, if the number was too high, then we said you're too high. If the number was too low to what we randomly picked and what they picked, then we said they were too low. If they got the number, then we said good job. But then we end up dealing with a lot of issues. What happens if they guess it right the first time? Do I still have to go through all those if-else statements, the if ladders that I built to make it so my code would still work? Or should I just, forego that? So we want to use loops to cut down on all the, constant if statements. So here, you guys are going to create a loop to re-ask the question and check for too high, too low, too correct without repeating yourself in code. So we're making it so the code is repeating and we're not actually rewriting that code or copy and pasting that code. Okay, so that is, you're going to have basically a main core of the game is going to be in a loop, asking, for taking their number and then telling if they're too high, too low, or if they got it right. Okay, then I want you to play around because we can have loops within loops. I want you to create another loop, and this is normally what we would have as a game loop. It's what allows us to start the game again. It's what keeps the program going. So you would want, if we're thinking about this number guessing game, to add a feature would be that after they got the number right, they should be able to play the game again. So if you are asking them, would you like to play again? And they say, yeah, then you should be able to reset the variable that reset the random number that you originally generated, and any other code that revolves around that, and start the game over. Okay, so this is what a game loop is, because it's everything that's essential for the game to function needs to reset. That is what a game loop is. So you'll have that around and including your main game core loop, which is asking the too high, too low, and the correct. Okay. After you do that, I want you to look at trying to add an additional feature to the game. So here's some examples that I have. In this, when you take some code and you really try to change it once you learn new code, this is where you really start to learn fast. So here's an example. We could have a limited amount of tries. So inside of our loop, we could say, that they have 5 tries, and I increment it up every time that we go through that loop. And once we've hit 5, I kick them out of that loop, and the game's done. So that could be done. You could have a limited amount of tries. You could try playing around with doing some type of score calculation. That would be a cool feature to do. Maybe you have it based off of how many times it took for them to actually get the number. So maybe they get 10 tries, and you have some type of score that if they get it on the first try, they get 1,000 points. If they get it on the 9th try, maybe they only get 100 points. Okay, where you would have to have their score decrease every time that they make a guess and they're incorrect, and then have it where it's generating what their total score was, especially if they wanted to keep playing again. So if you wanted to have a full game loop where you wanted that score to persist every time they reset to do a different number, you would have to have that variable declared and initialized outside of that loop. Okay, if you initialized it inside that loop, if you declared it, initialized it inside that loop, then it would reset every time it would come back to that line. Back to what your default number that you set it to. Okay. Another feature that you could do, you could have it play against a computer. You could have where the computer is also randomly picking a number, and maybe you are setting it up where you're trying to do some type of score based on who is closer. Okay, you could do, using that math utils, you could do absolute values. You could ask me about that. So that would be for number guessing game. You need to rewrite your code, modify your code so that you're not repeating yourself. Using loops for your main game, the main core of your game, and for your game loop, which would allow you to reset your game. And then you're going to add an additional feature. I'm leaving the additional feature to you, but when you do your screencast for it, I want you to be able to demo what that additional feature was and explain how you were able to implement that. Okay. The next piece that you're going to do, Magic 8 Ball. We have enough in here to actually modify this. We can have it where it loops to keep the program running to be able to ask another question without restarting the program. We also have enough knowledge that instead of us having to assign a number to for them to pick to decide if it's right or wrong or if it's going to happen, we could actually just randomly give them a number and then just check. So we can modify this one. So that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to cut out the number that you make them have to enter that you're checking, so that basically it's just them asking a question and it spits out a random value. Okay, and then you're going to have it a loop so that it will be able to repeat. Okay, those additional features, you'll have to do screencasts for both of them individually, and then give me the link for the GitHub.